I hope you are having an amazing time. Today, instead of learning from myself, from the things that I do, we are going to learn about from things that other people have done um, when tackling a very difficult challenge, which is how do you represent your qualitative analysis in a way that really brings out the richness and the diversity and all of the insights and nuance in your data and in your process, while keeping it simple enough that it is understandable and that reviewers will actually accept to publish your paper. Okay, so first one was actually I found about it yesterday by friend of the channel, Lauren Wardenberg. Sorry, I just wanted to check that I got the Lauren's last name's pronunciation as correctly as I can. So Lauren, other than a brilliant scholar, is really supportive of the channel, and she started a really cool discussion yesterday on Twitter about how to represent a very complex. What was it? Her? No, I don't think it was her. But yeah, it was. So it was a really interesting discussion on how to represent. No, it wasn't her. It was also a friend of the channel, Martha, who was asking for means of representing like really complex qualitative data. Okay, and Lauren gave this example of this paper by Anastasia Sergieva et al. That has this really nice. I want to show you. I'll zoom in here. This really nice representation. This is of method, not of results. Okay, so I really love this. So what they did is they did this diagram of an analytical process where that is divided in like 4 columns. So beginning with the purpose of a specific step of the analysis, the provisional codes that came out of this process, the themes and insights, and then the questions for further study. And then, we go on, next step, what's the new purpose, new codes, themes, and so on. Now, obviously, this is a linear representation of what is an iterative process. So, in practice, it is likely that, you get at this step and you need to come back here, but it does an amazing job in keeping this iterative flavor, in keeping the complexity, in keeping the nuance. And this is so beautifully designed that, you can read just the columns and see how the purpose shifts, how the themes evolve, how the codes evolve, and how the research question evolves. So it's a really beautiful table that can be read in line, in column, and just as it is intended in flow. And you really get the sense of this rich and complex and iterative research process that, for example, if you look at my tables on my own papers, it is hidden now. This richness is not there. So this is just a beautiful example of how to present your analysis section in the methods in a way that really values. So let's see what I did, right? So it really values the richness of the data, right? So if you look at my paper, I do have like steps, but this doesn't show the changes in the research question, changes in codes, and so on. It's like data comes in at this end, codes come out at this end. So so it's not this richness and beauty that is here. I really encourage you to take a look at this paper. It's a great paper as well. Great study with nice insights on the production of performance data, but and the use of technology. But definitely just for this, it's really worth, taking a look and maybe thinking about this or a similar representation in your next qualitative study. Now, I want to show you something, which is, I have this video on high-end qualitative research, and I really want to show you how, you don't need a lot of hours of observation to have a really, powerful paper. This is an MS quarterly paper that does a great job with an amazing theoretical contribution. Look at this. This is, 200 hours of observation. So if you think about it, let's say, it's what? Let's say it's 6 hours a day. This is a month and a half, not even a month and a half of observation, right? I mean, for example, compare it with my ethnography, which is 15 months, right? But but notice how they have the N here, and they end up having 57 surgeries, okay? So the big N here are the surgeries. So for example, the SQ barley piece has 90 surgeries, and that's an SQ piece. So really nice example of how you can get relatively high ends even with short observation time. So great piece of work. Not only because it proves my point, but also because of that video, but also because it has this really nice representation of the analytical process. Now, what I want to show you is my hands down favorite representation of results, of analysis, not the process, but the outcome of the process, okay? And so, this is a piece by my advisor, Van der Lekowski, in 1996. I'll just show you the first page so you can see the title. Improvising Organizational Transformation Over Time, a Situated Change Perspective. Now, this is a mammoth of a paper. Complex, dense, theory-driven, with beautiful Escher pictures. And Van is just a great scholar and great writer as well. So what Vanda is doing is she's depicting a set of metamorphoses in a company from the use of information technology. And she wants to talk about deliberate and emergent change, managers and employees' practices, and then unanticipated outcomes and technological features. And she wants to do this in a timeline, so as time goes by. So look at what she does, right? So what she does is she has a figure that has specific rows for deliberate and emergent change in managers and employees' practices, the outcomes, unanticipated outcomes, and here a row for the features, right? And then she shows how this evolves over time. So if you read in line here, you can see the changes in specialist practices. And you see the deliberate changes and the emergent changes. Here you see it in management practices. Here you can see the features of technology that are appropriated for each of these practices. And here you see the outcomes. And then, you see the flow. So what is leading to what in this process. So as you see, we have in one two-dimensional graph, the arrow of time, deliberate and specialist practices, deliberate and emergent practices, management and employees practices, and features of technology. So really complex, but really, really nice visualization, okay? And so Vanda does this for each metamorphosis. So we'll see, I'm trying to, yeah. So in each metamorphosis, there's a graph like this, okay? So a really beautiful way of presenting this really complex data that makes it like super easy to understand. Now, what Vanda did that I would actually do it the other way around is that Vanda has the overall graph with all of the metamorphoses at the beginning, and so she then zooms in the analysis, and I would actually have this at the end, so that, because this is linear, right? So this is a linear process, so we're going from one metamorphosis to the next. So it's nice to see this at the end of the process. I understand why she put it at the beginning, so that you have sort of like an overall view, okay? But I would put it at the end, so that then I can draw on this for the discussion. So these are two great examples of how you can represent really complex data. The first example is about the analytical process. The second example, this Orlikowski example, is about the results section. In the not that. So in the Sergeev et al. Paper, if you see the results are presented in a traditional way with tables and illustrative quotes. Okay, so Vanda there is more sophisticated. This paper is far more sophisticated in the presentation of the data analysis. So take a look at these two papers. They are two great examples of how you can use new and innovative ways of presenting your data in your analysis when you want to remain faithful to the richness, the nuance, and the complexity of your analytical process and your data. Okay, two great papers. And if you do any research on any topic on technology, both papers are really, really amazing. So I would encourage you to read them just also for their content alone, but they're great examples of qualitative research. If you have more examples, feel free to share them in the comment section on YouTube, or send them on Twitter. I'm happy to share them with the rest of the community. Final word of thanks to Marta Jutkowska for raising up the question on Twitter, and Lauren for providing this beautiful example of a paper. And I'll see you all tomorrow.